Storm was summoned by Susanoo, who ordered her to aid him as he sought to end his own life to atone for his sins during the Thunder War. What began as a beautiful tea ceremony turned into deception at Storm's hand. He swore that she would know the pain that resides in his heart. And not long after that, Storm fell victim to deception herself when the General Akujin deceived her in France. Storm now has 5 days to release Akujin's master, or a larger invasion will commence. And as Storm wrestles with the weight of her actions, the Sorcerer Supreme herself has come to lend aid. In her life, Storm has danced with magic on more than one occasion. She is fortunate enough to call many witches, sorcerers, and spellcasters friends. From Ilyana Rasputin to Jericho Drum, and of course, Wanda Maximoff. She's even become well acquainted with one of her ancestors, Ashake, who is a magic priestess of great renown. But as comfortable as she's become around witches and warlocks, she's neglected to learn a basic fact about them. At their core, they are all tricksters. A lesson she's learning right now firsthand. Scarlet Witch is not merely a friend and ally in battle. She is now Storm's teacher in the ways of magic. Scarlet Witch begins her lesson by immediately attacking one of Storm's weak points. She creates innumerous clones of herself and surrounds Storm, immediately triggering her claustrophobia. But Storm already knows none of this is real, so she begins fighting in a way that is natural to her. The temperature grows lower and lower until all but one of Wanda's clones have completely frozen. Storm listens to Wanda's voice with one ear and listens to her own internal voice with the other, as she walks herself through a strategy that will end this exercise. Alternate the atmospheric pressure, raise the atmospheric temperature, reduce the oxygen in the air, and increase the carbon monoxide molecules. The final form of Wanda melts away, and finally, Storm can open her eyes and breathe. But this trial was nothing compared to what lies ahead. The former Sorcerer Supreme himself, Dr. Stephen Strange, has already begun doing the work of his new master, Mistress Death. While deep in the Serpent Valley, in the Crimson Cosmos, Akujin rallies her army of demons. This war is unlike one that Storm has ever fought before. Here, the victor need not be strong or skilled. Mages armed with priceless and powerful artifacts could meet a swift end at the hands of a mere hoodlum. In the world of mysticism, victory belongs to the biggest scoundrel. And while Storm has dipped her toes in magic waters before, she has not been baptized therein. In the Scarlet Witch's world, Storm's power, though great and beyond measure, is simply not enough as it stands. Even Doctor Strange himself, a man who single-handedly defeated Sun God of the Great Society, who was strong enough to floor the Incredible Hulk, once found himself clinging to life, the victim of a mere bullet. Not unlike Storm once found herself at the mercy of a flying tree branch or radiation poisoning. But nevertheless, Scarlet Witch remains unconvinced that Storm is ready to face such unpredictability. And how could she, when she currently has such a parasitic relationship with truth and order? Storm scoffs at Scarlet Witch's assumption. How can she who summons raging winds and turbulent tides be synonymous with order? Wanda's response makes things all too plain. For despite the mystic heritage that Storm comes from, her mutant powers are natural. Temperature, atmosphere, electromagnetism, everything Storm can do resides in the natural world, with logical cause and effect. Meanwhile, Wanda is at home in chaos. She demonstrates this by transforming Storm's water bottle into a glass of grape juice as Storm hands her the bottle for a sip. And if she wanted, she could drink grape juice and spit out a herring. But based on what she has observed today, Storm is not ready. Akujin has laid down the gauntlet. She will return in 5 days and lay waste to the world, one city at a time. So the Sorceress Supreme begs her friend to take Akujin up on her offer and return her imprisoned master. She's already looked through the lives of the previous Sorcerer Supremes to see their darkest hours, the wars they fought, wars where time, death, and immortality are used as tools and weapons of mass destruction. And in these wars, Storm's greatest attributes, her virtue, her honor, her integrity, and empathy, simply have no place. To traffic in the magic world is to traffic in deception. Sorcery and trickery go hand in hand. But unbeknownst to Wanda, Storm is familiar with deception. Not only did she recently deceive Susanoo, but she herself was deceived. To defeat Hadad, she made amends with Eternity, allowing him to reside in her body as long as she remained in control. He promised not to usurp her will again. Then he broke that promise as quickly as he had made it. Storm put her trust in the universe to not take advantage of her again, just as she trusted the humanity of the FBI, assuming that they would act with even a semblance of honor. And for that assumption, Maggot paid with his life, and Manifold's life hangs in the balance. And so, yet again, Storm prepares for war, disregarding the warnings of her friend. She knows that she needs Wanda's aid, that she can't do this alone. But she also remembers the last time her friends paid for helping her. Even if it costs her her life, Storm must stand firm and face this next war all alone. The next day, Storm addresses a crowd. 4 days remain before Akujin's invasion of Earth. The crowd, in her home in Atlanta, listen attentively, as do the FBI agents who have made Storm their nemesis. Biarritz France still suffers from the previous ordeal, so she seeks to bring aid to them now by departing with the Storm Sanctuary and opening its doors to Biarritz's people. She leaves behind one of her mighty Storm engines to stand watch, and as Storm proclaims her undying love to her hometown, the agents continue to plot and scheme as the results of their investigations begin to produce fruit. A subject in a containment unit floats suspended in a solution. Beside her, a mighty warhammer and suit of armor. The label above it identifies her as Gale Arakawa, project codename Galacta. Elsewhere in the Serpent Valley, Akujin plots and schemes with her demon sisters, Bogey and Ewin. The search for their master has spanned across the entire universe in all of its multiple realms. They've mapped out the House of Ideas, the Oblivion Void, the Realm of Death, the Underworld, ruled by Hades and Persephone, the Blood Dimension that has no ruler, Limbo, ruled by the Goblin Queen, and the Council of Sky Gods itself. Bogey believes their master is being held outside of this universe altogether, while Ewin narrows the search down to one of the upper realms, likely in a pocket dimension, but Akujin has already sensed his presence on Earth during her last visit. That single piece of information changes the conversation, from planning the next phase of a search party to planning their next leg of conquest. But they know their conquest will not go unmet, namely by the Olympian gods. If these three were to kill Hades and Persephone, for example, they would most definitely take notice. And they are not known to be kind to immortals who are not gods. So they'll have to make an offering to Hera, queen of the Olympian gods. Bogey suggests the trio invade Wakanda, Earth's greatest stronghold, for it holds many paths to Hera's heart, and Wakanda guards many secrets in addition to all its vibranium. Akujin scoffs at the plan. Not even she knows all of Wakanda's security measures, but Bogey is resolute, for this will only take them one step closer to freeing their master, a mission that nothing can dissuade them from, not even a realm full of gods. Elsewhere, Storm is busy at her home realm full of mortals, as she tends to the numerous citizens of Biarritz, France. happily serving them along with several of her fellow mutants. All are welcome here, but everyone doesn't feel that way. Outside, a crisis emerges as a group of angry mutants clashes with some of the humans entering. They proclaim that the Storm Sanctuary is for mutants only. Another mutant, Armor, tries to quell the growing crowd, to no avail. According to the crowd's leader, fire and rescue services tended to humans exclusively, leading the mutants to fare for themselves. And even though the demons did not discriminate in who they made a target, it matters not to the crowd. Tensions continue to flare, as do weapons, as the humans prepare to make their final stand. But Storm intervenes. There will be no bloodshed, there will be no loss of life. Storm has had enough. As the human rioters are welcomed inside and given a warm meal, Storm and the would-be riot leader have a conversation outside, a long overdue one about Krakoa, their former home. One where they could be anything they wanted to be. One where they didn't have to worry about harassment, propaganda, or hatred. One where Storm sat on the governing council. How now, the nameless mutant asks, are they supposed to go on? With Storm's sanctuary, they have a sliver of the freedom that they once had in Krakoa. But if Storm constantly opens their doors to the same people who kill them at a higher rate than the Sentinels, how can they sleep with their eyes closed? But Storm will have no more of this talk. She's been front and center in the mutant struggle, constantly assimilating herself to a people and society that hates her. And throughout mutant history, even once they have separated themselves, even that did not diminish the fear and hatred of mankind. But in her heart she believes that on the day they turn their backs on those in need, regardless of their race, that will be the day that evil truly wins. And unbeknownst to Storm, evil is brewing now in her own sanctuary. An innocent mutant lies headless behind a tree just out of Storm's sight. But this death, though tragic, will pale in comparison to what's on the horizon. In the very near future, the invasion of Earth has begun, and city after city falls to Mistress Death's forces. The storm engines that Aurora had placed around the world for their protection, all decimated by Doctor Strange and his wraith. But Storm has not failed her planet, and so she flies headfirst into battle, wearing the tattered remains of her vibranium armor, mastering no mystic art, no familiars, no spells, no incantations, no artifacts. Just a protector of Earth who has a dead man walking in her sights as she prepares to send him to the 7 circles of hell. This issue was another mixed bag for me, starting with the good points in no particular order.
Beautiful.
Who? Me?
The Scarlet Witch section was easily the highlight of the issue. From the magic test to the post-training debate to seeing them both fear for each other's life. You really do get the sense that these are friends, not just 2 random heroes working together for one mission. I just wish that was the majority of the issue. Hopefully Wanda will return, but we know from the way this issue ended that Storm is flying into battle with no mystic mastery, so fingers crossed. I really loved Scarlet Witch's breakdown of how magic operates in the universe. The whole spellcasters are all tricksters really paints a unique picture of magic in the Marvel Universe. Not sure if this is the case objectively, or if this is just Wanda's interpretation because she's a Chaos Witch, but either way, I'm into it. I also love how we got a peek of what Doctor Strange has been up to prior to his current stint as Death's General. This really was just magic, the issue. Also because this gave us a rare chance to see Storm be out of her depth in a way that she isn't normally tested. A, she's not experienced enough in magic, and B, her character values will actually work against her. So in order to be good at magic, Storm's gonna have to tap into a side of herself that she really doesn't like. Because we know Storm can be deceitful. That was the whole premise behind issue 1. She deceived Susanoo. I don't have too many thoughts about the conversation that Storm had with that one mutant at the end. It's basic mutant X-Men fare in my opinion. One mutant represents the anti-human side, and the other is pro-human, and pro-human mutant cohabitation. I'm definitely on Storm's side of this, but let me know how you felt about it in the comments and which side you're on. But I do appreciate how this was the first meaningful conversation about Krakoa that we've ever had in Storm's series. It may be the first time it's been mentioned at all. Maybe I'm forgetting something, definitely let me know if I am. But I feel like we haven't talked about Krakoa at all, and if it was, it had to be in passing. Finally, I have to point out how good it felt to see Storm invoke the Bright Lady. I literally cannot remember the last time she's done that. Of course, we know the Bright Lady is Oster, but Storm's spirituality is core to her character, and it seems like they've abandoned that in current year Marvel in favor of cementing Storm's own divinity, so it's good to know she's still a woman of faith. And now, for the bad.
Demerits, my boy.
I have got to be the brokenest of records at this point, but this issue suffers from many of the same problems that have plagued this series since the Thunder War. Too much going on, moving too fast, too many side plots, too much setup, not enough payoff, not enough time spent with things we're already invested in. Scarlet Witch's time was so tragically cut short, I want to make a memorial page for it. Storm and Scarlet Witch's magic training. Gone too soon. The biggest offender here are those other women who were with Akujin. That whole scene was just 2 pages that could have gone to literally anything else that we already care about. Sure, they have interesting character designs, and I'm sure they'll be relevant to the plot. And it did also give us a nice comprehensive cosmic Marvel map. But we already have a room full of FBI agents, 2 of whom we haven't gotten so much as a single line from. The War Above All, starring Mistress Death and Doctor Strange, and a currently unaccounted for Dr. Voodoo, and whatever the hell is making everyone's heads pop. Now we got 2 other demonesses along with that. At least I assume they're some kind of demon-like beings.
You wicked bitch!
Seeing Storm turn down Wanda's help after what she went through in the Thunder War is a choice. I get the whole protect your loved ones by pushing them away, but Storm just learned where this thought process gets her. She even said it out loud in issue 11 of the last volume.
Okay.
But at least we did get to see her internal conflict over the decision, and you could argue that this is more realistic instead of having her just do a whole 180. Speaking of things Storm said that make me scratch my head, it was interesting to see that Storm considers her powers chaotic. The nature of her powers and how she uses them literally spell out order. She works in harmony with the existing environment instead of forcing it to do whatever she wants. That's Storm 101. And beyond that, in Wakanda, she's known as Hadariao, the goddess who brings balance to all things. And she's a worshipper / descendant of Oster, who's also known as the Grey Goddess of Balance. I did like Wanda's breakdown, but Storm's initial objection to it just felt off. And finally, we got to call out our good friends at Marvel, whoever is in charge of the digital distribution. The Amazon digital release was missing its final page, so a lot of people literally didn't know how the issue ended. I have seen people make review videos on this issue where they stop their review on the second to last page as if that's the end of the issue. This is dog ass. Either Marvel is trying to sabotage this book or somebody just was drunk that day. I don't know. They hit send and they had one hand on the bottle at the time. Maybe, I don't know. Shout out to all my fellow Stormcasters who did share the final page on Twitter. For once, I'm glad that I'm still on that godforsaken bird app. What did you think of this issue? Either way, comment below and let me know. And then click on this video right here to get more Weather Witch goddessness in your life. And until next time, you know you better keep simping, damn it.